Yes, I'll start with saying who I am. Some of you may know me from before. I've been working in Nordic Circle Hotspot for 5 years, being part of building up since the start, and being part of also producing a lot of the big Nordic Circular Summit, which we have every year. So I'm the project manager for this year, the Nordic Circular Summit, which we will have in Finland in November. So if you have any thoughts on ideas about that, you can also contact me on that later after the meeting. And yeah, I will also send out information on partner programs and things we will do on that in the continuous weeks and hopefully before summer. So we'll get going on planning the different partner sessions and stuff like that as well. So very, very happy to see you all. Yes, a quick on the agenda. We'll have a short welcome and introductions from new partners. We're happy to have a new partner today, which will say hello and present herself and her organization quickly, which is very exciting. We have some Circular news and updates. We will talk through quickly what we have done since the last partner meeting. The themes of the month this month is policies. We sent out that we also will focus on Critical Raw Materials Act, but that has been, we set that up for next time with a bit of a bigger presentation from one of the from the company who has made a report on this. So we get some deeper insights and some deeper discussions on that next time. So we figured out that was the best way to do it this time. And then we have today a really talented and big expert on EU regulations and policies with us, which is also be part of the discussion today. So we figured it would be better to focus on one thing at a time. We will say something on what's coming up from the NCH in the time to come. We also have Jan Thomas in the room with me here, which will say something about a new exciting project. And then we will see, it's a tight program today, so it's not that much time for discussions today. We will set up more time for that next time. It's a bit tighter program today, so we hopefully have some time in the end where everybody can put in some time to discuss as well. We also set some time off to ask questions to Paul Friesel on the EU regulations and that part. Yeah. So, new partners we have gotten in now is Global Circular Network, which I will give the word very soon. And then ByKey from Sweden, which we will get a presentation from hopefully next meeting. Couldn't be here today, unfortunately. And then on this new project we are doing, we also have project partners, which is also coming into the network, which is something on Icelandic, which I can't pronounce, I think. But you can read it. And then Circular Innovation, or Center for Circularity in Denmark, Circular Innovation Lab, also for Denmark, and then Fund Forward Sweden, and then Natural State in Norway. So this my colleague Jan Thomas will say a bit more about later. Yes, so now I will give the word to our new partner, Global Circular Network. And I will take down sharing here so we can see the face of people. Hello, Alison.
Hello, my name's Alison Jose. I come to you from not sunny India, from Kerala, where it's monsoon, and I happen to have found myself in a bit of a noisy place. So I hope you can all hear me successfully. It's very exciting to have this new partnership, and I've met with Christian a few times and Carolyn, and explained the whole breadth of what we're doing, which was formerly named CircularLink, but because of course, clothing not being the only textile that's included for DPPs, we've now rebranded as the Global Circular Network. So it's a digital product passport platform that comes, we're connecting with the world's first RFID that's in a thread. So this is, you'll see the little tag in the middle. That's actually the RFID tag, and then the rest is the antenna. So that goes into a product, whether it be, of course, clothing, through to mattresses. So it's put in, and then we the philosophy is to make it as equitable and inclusive solution as possible. Where we see other DPPs, they are of course working with, I guess, the more high-end brands, and we feel that to be a true collaborative and to engage all stakeholders, we need to be able to bulk manufacture that brings that price point down. So not just to deliver a DPP that is going to be for the upper echelon. And the concern is that I've attended all of the Surpass meetings. We are included in Surpass in the listings of DPPs to be delivered. I'm also included on the Surpass 2 expert working group. So that is helping to include information in regards to and advice in regards to data collection. But what the concern for me was is that 99.8% of businesses, and particularly fashion brands, are SMEs in Europe. And over 80% of those are micro businesses. So, and it's been commented that potentially up to 40% of those businesses will struggle, might close because of their lack of access to DPPs and being able to give the compliance regulatory data. So we look at it from that perspective to not only support all stakeholders to engage the supply chains and then add to reverse logistics value chain. And by that, I mean the R cycles. We're calling them R cycles. So that is the rent, repair, reuse, redesign, remake, all before recycling. So it's adding that extra capability because we've connected an app to this that has been developed here where, with our team in India. Our CTO is actually the former, he was with Ralph Lauren, he's based in New York, he was there for 7 years building their software and of course moving their products all around the world. So he knows about supply chain. And so we add all of that data. And then we plug in the R recyclers. So again, keeping with this whole philosophy of keeping prices down, we've been able to engineer and access a UHF commercial RFID reader that is as little as that connects to, at the moment, Android. Will be able to do an iPhone as well. But the goal is that once brands connect their products with all their provenance data that is meeting all the criteria, they can connect their supply chain management system and their sales. But they don't have to. And at the point of sale, so point of sale or distribution or by request by the brand, that digital bridge that was connecting the two softwares is disconnected. And then the only thing that's maintained is a grid-based data. So that base data we need for the reporting for the whole sector. So that enables us to engage the recyclers through a network for free. So that means that for this product, and also just to let you know, part of the Surpass criteria is that each product needs to have a unique code. So once you scan the RFID thread and you add all the data, the app at the end will give you a downloadable QR code. So each product can have its own unique access, but we do have a B2C tools as well. So this is a B2B tool. So it's to connect all these businesses, whereas the B2C tool is the QR code, but also we have an NFC that's a little bit like this. So it's malleable like this and can be put into any products at the same time that you're sewing in your tags. But also, because it's so malleable, it can go now into any recovered product. So just say you've got a Ralph Lauren, pair of jeans, and you're a renter who can rent those out, or a reseller who can continue to have a partnership with that brand, then they have that relationship. So that's a real easy solution with the app that's like an in and an out. So I think of it for rental, in and out, in and out. We actually do have a UK company that's using it for rental at the moment. But we have built this app particularly to the open source so that we can engage everyone in the circular economy, and we can continue to collect that data, so to work with research groups. And that's why we're particularly excited to work with the Nordic Circular Hotspot. So the way this works is to do a bulk. So I've launched yesterday, you can go onto the website. I've got an interesting approach where people can get their head around it in regards to genes. So if we bulk manufacture 100 million RFID threads, that brings the price point down to 11 cents. I'm here in India and started now working with Invest India. It's been a long slog. Now with Invest India and the Ministry of Textiles and the Prime Minister's Make in India departments, and they've all come together so we can build a bulk machinery capability in India at one of their, what's called the PM Mitra textile parks. So that is where we basically will be with all the manufacturers, put the product in, train everybody so all the products can go in. Ideally, we do this in Turkey. We do it in Bangladesh. We do it in other centres that have the big setup for manufacturing, but also the capability to loop the product back once it's done its journey locally, adding to local businesses, jobs, economy, etc. So I do have a lot of information on the website, and thank you for the time and for the inclusion. This is really quite wonderful for us to be able to advance this with the Nordic Circular Hotspot. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Alison. This was really interesting, and I imagine if we set the topic of textiles on a partner meeting during the year, I think we could also have a bigger presentation from you, because this was really exciting, and also planning in for our coming events and on the summit and other things. We're really happy to have you on board. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will continue here the agenda. Some updates here, circular news and events. So what has been happening since the last meeting? Since the last meeting, we have participated in Norway on the big circular conference made by KOET, the municipality organization of Norway, and Circular Norway. So there it got announced that the circular startup of the year in Norway, at least, Loopfront. Loopfront makes systems for furniture, getting the overview of data and all the furniture in all the municipalities in Norway, or many of them at least. Then they work together with also local businesses to create new circular jobs, redesigning furniture, then putting that out in new projects created by municipalities. Also, they work on interior and other things, but it's data driven. And then we have the Finn.no, which was the circular company of the year, which was announced a week ago. They're currently working to establish also in Finland, and that's a platform to buy and sell used stuff for everything. So it's a big platform in Norway, and they're working to create or build up in the different Nordic countries to become truly Nordic. Also, people keeps coming in here. That's beautiful. Also, we were participating on Loop Forum on Nordic Circular Hotspot with a session on circular finance, where we had the European Investment Bank and Nefco being part of it. So I have a hope there also to follow up with them and to get to work with them through the year. And we had really good conversations there. We last, when was this? In April? Yeah. We had the World Circular Economy Forum. I will say a bit more about that soon. We were participating there and creating a Nordic stage with 5 sessions in total. Yesterday, we were also participating, as you can see on the picture, on the Circular Economy Summit in Austria. So we were trying to be part of the different discussions around Europe to pick up what's happening around, and to bring that into Nordic Circular Hotspot and see how we can kind of get the knowledge and be on top of things to spread the knowledge to you guys as partners, and also to take it into our different projects. And then it's coming up a new government circular workshop. They came with a circular strategy or plan recently, where they now want to fill that with content, because I think most Norwegians are not, or in our sphere, are not very happy with what came. But I think the plan now is to follow up on that. So yes, so this is the topic we will have next time, but this has also been launched since last time. It's a Nordic report on recycling of critical raw materials acts in the critical raw materials in the Nordics, and it's following up on the Critical Raw Material Act in the EU that says that they want to have at least 25% recycling of critical raw materials. And this as a topic is growing a lot currently in the geopolitical situation we have in the world, with where we are not producing very much of this ourselves. So the goal is to lift the production and make sure that we have access to these materials in the Nordics and in the EU especially. So it's part of the big strategy and big plan in the EU. On the VCF, we had the topics on sessions on circular construction, which Thomas also will get back to later today. We had the platform-driven transition, which I would say is almost the same as the current winner of the Circular Company of the Year in Norway. We have product service systems and digital product passports. And the winning concept for circularity, public-private partnerships. And then, as I will say a few words about soon, an overview of the Nordic policies and their impact on circular entrepreneurship. Yes, so since last time we have launched this white paper, which you can also get access to through our webpage and download after. The things. Okay, so we have been working with this for over a year to create an overview of the circular economy policies in the Nordic countries. So we see on how the directives from the EU are being implemented. Currently, we're seeing how national strategies are evolving, and we compare the different Nordic countries and see who has come further and who has to start doing something and what's coming up. So then we compare, and the reason we do this is that the Nordics are quite behind on this, to be honest. We have a big potential to work on this. The circularity gap reports made in the different countries show that the circularity is very low in the Nordics currently. So, and one of the big things in circular economy, if you work with material flows or other things, is to get an overview to know where to act. And one other thing is, of course, to learn from each other. So what you will find in the report is overview of EU policies and regulations, analysis of emerging Nordic best practice, green public procurement, textiles, buildings, construction, outline of Nordic governmental strategies, policies, regulations, and reports, and opportunities for synergies. A number of Nordic countries, circular strategies mention areas where other Nordic countries have emerging best practice and experience. And there are some circular strategies in the different Nordic countries, and yeah, things are moving, but not very fast. Yes, so if you go into the details, you'll find things from everything about plastics, the Green New Deal, how it's adopted in the different countries, Circular Economy Action Plan, the Farm to Fork strategy on food, textiles, the EU strategy on sustainable circular textiles, how that affects us. This is something all the municipalities currently are working very hard on implementing. Data and monitoring, the importance of that and how it's going to be implemented in the Nordic countries. Waste, energy efficiency, extended producer responsibility, EPRs, building, construction. So these are things I guess you, Paul, will mention a bit more into the explanation, but I will just read up a bit what you can find in the report here. Plastic packaging, batteries regulations. So the point here is that you can get, when working with sustainability and circular economy in the Nordics, you can go into your report and get the data for having an overview on how this is evolving in the Nordic countries. So we use it also in Natural State, which is the company I work in. We use it when talking to customers and showing for different things depending on what type of product we work on. So the Transparency Act, taxonomy regulations, yeah, you'll find a lot of things, all the buzzwords, as somebody would call it, but it's everything that's coming from the EU that we have to adapt to and have to understand to get going on this, because this is going to be law, much of this, very, very soon. And then we have an overview in the end there of kind of the best case. So where can we see the best strategies that we see it in the Nordics, what's happening. Yeah, so download the report. You can find it there. You can email me, or you can find it also on the Nordic Circular Hotspot webpage and download it there. So if you have any troubles finding it, don't hesitate to email. I can put my email in the chat afterwards as well. But now I think to get to the energetic and beautiful person that we know, which we always love to work with, Paul Frieswald. I'm so happy that you could be part of this today, and I will give the word to you to say a few things about what's coming up.
Okay, great. Thank you, Martin. Hello, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to share a presentation, of course. But before I do that, I would like to tell you what I'm about to say so that you recognize it when you see my slides and that they don't make you fall asleep. I will tell you about the end of the beginning. That's a famous historic, expression. Because last Monday, we came to really a watershed in European circular economy legislative high-speed train, in the sense that both the European Parliament and the Council was actually able to seal this very important legislative tool that will enable a circular economy to get going, which is called the Ecodesign for Sustainable Products Regulation. That's what I'm going to tell you about now. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the scope, about the depth. I'm going to show you some new tools that has been introduced, very importantly. And I'm going to talk something about textiles, because that's obviously at the core. And it was very interesting to listen to Alison in the beginning, because the digital product passport is really at the core of this. And then, very importantly for all of you, the establishment of an eco-design forum. Because if this new legislation is to have an impact and be transposed into our national legislation, there needs to be surveillance, there needs to be new institutions. And so in order to engage in stakeholders to be part of this evolution, they have established this Eco-Design Forum. And that's particularly important for Norwegians here, because there's a specific way to get into this for what we call non-EU member states, which might be interesting for Alison, whether she be in New Zealand or in India. Now, that concludes my introduction, and then I will go to the presentation. And so obviously my first question is then, can you see it? Martin, can you give me a thumbs up when you see it? Yep. Is that in the presentation mode?
It's not in a full screen. We can see now it's full screen. Yes.
It's full screen.
Yes, perfect.
All right. So I, for some mistakenly, thought this was in Norwegian. So I said hva but that means what is. So you'll understand that. ESPR is the new buzzword. ESPR, just say it out loud 10 times. ESPR, ESPR, because it's going to be the reference point. And Europe is full of acronyms. But the first and the main point here is, as I said, this is the beginning. This is the end of the beginning. So we're going to start, which means this is a framework legislation. It means it sets some rules of the game. And as you can see on this slide, it says, you know, the product specific measures will be developed according to detailed impact assessments. The EU is so cumbersome and so holistic and so grundig, whatever that is in English. So then that's why we need to follow this moving target, because the target of different sectors will be moving at different speeds. So here we need to have our ear on the ground. And then I'm trying to change slides, and I see there's some, okay, here we go. This meeting is being recorded. Okay, cool. And here you see what I'm talking about, the new approach, right? So we used to have a system in Europe for energy-related projects, but now we're moving into sustainability and eco-designs aspects. We've been talking about this 100 times, but that is really important, that there's the durability, the CO2 footprint, recycled content, and all that. That is so important to get the market going, because there will be requirements in every product for how much recycled content it has. And then some horizontal measures, and then the focus on product information, which has to do with the digital passport and information requirements. Then I pushed, there seems to be a lag in my, there we go. I found the right button. And here you see also Article 5. It talks about these 3 categories of eco-design requirements. Obviously, these slides will be shared with you, so you don't have to, but the point is to get the notion that there are 3 different categories. Because in every, you know, if you look at every blue whatever circle or whatever it is, sextant, there are specific legislation in all of this. So it combines all of it, and then it brings it further into these dynamic legislative things that has to do with upgradability, reusability, and so forth. And then it is into how these are delivered on the market. So there is a system here for how these legislative measures are taking place. Yes, and how now, so I forgot to tell you that this presentation is taken from one of the Commission's 75 slides presentation. I thought it would be incumbent on me to give you just a gist of it. So I've chosen 20, and I shall run faster. That's why I'm jumping a little bit from one thing to another. But the mandatory green public procurement is vital, obviously, because it has to do with the public sector, and the public sector, as we know, has a strong power in the market to get to set into motions new product production facilities. And then there is this prevention of destruction of unsold consumer goods. That's totally new, and that is very complicated. And then again, as I mentioned, there are some new tools on this, and market surveillance and customer controls. You know, how do we enforce that these new tools are being implemented in the market? And then here's again, it's just some, you know, a little bit into detail. I won't go through that, but this has to do with green public procurement. And my God, do we have to present this to NØF, it's called in Norwegian. I don't know why it's called NØF. NØF is what pigs do, NØF, but it stands for økonomiske something. But that is the directorate in the Norwegian government that teaches and conveys the criteria for public procurement in all municipalities in Norway. And I'm sure there are similar government agency in the other Nordic countries. They need to get this right because those are the government that are going to put this into motion. And then, you know, we need to, governments need to prepare for this. They have to introduce the right mechanisms for market surveillance. That will take, that means the governments have to get going in establishing these, and particularly for the Norwegian government that gets this rather late and we're not part of the negotiations, they need to understand that they must follow up with new institutions. And again, you know, what is destruction and what is an unsold consumer? Obviously, there are lots of important definitions here that we need to come to grips with. Finally, I'm going to go in for an ending here, Martin. Just these last 3 slides here, obligation to disclose. You know, this is what kind of information does companies have to actually make available to the consumers? And what are the requirements of the governments for companies to make available to the customers and to the governments? And then it has to do with prohibitions of the destruction. This is totally new, and it obviously deals with textiles, but also other products. And now this is for Alison. You know, I'm sure you have a take on this, but the digital product passport is key to how we enhance or how we ensure that these policies and these new legal requirements will be put into force. And as you see, they go very, they systematically move forward. Batteries regulation, toys regulation, detergents regulations, Critical Raw Materials Act, which you will hear about later on, construction products regulations. So for every sector, they will develop their own methods and own requirement for how you make a digital product passport available. And here it talks about what it is, you know, how it simplifies digital access, what kind of data. It's not a track and tracing tool, but it will allow traceability of information. And so the last bullet is actually quite important, that this system shall build on best practices at international level. So what you do then in Southeast Asia will be important as an input here. And then just this is a little bit more about what the DPP is all about, such as technical performance, sustainable performance, circularity aspects. You know, this is such a vital tool. And if the EU is able to get this tool off the ground and make it as important as the CE marking that we have in other products today, then that will make a change. Lastly, the companies, obviously this is what the companies have to do, and how they relate to these new, Finally, I started by saying this is the end of the beginning. Here you can see what I mean. Because we're in June 2024. And we're already a bit late because the final text was published in June, well, it was adopted in June, and the publication will not come until a month later, or at least. And then they have circulated this establishment of the Ecodesign Forum and the call for membership. And here's where you guys have to follow, because we all want you as the specialist in circular economy and sustainable product requirements to be part of that forum, so we get it right. And then obviously there's the working plan, there's an action plan, and then we come to 2027 to 2028, where the first product requirements shall apply. And those who get that, those who are first out of the starting blocks, they will become the richest, because those who know what are the requirements will be able to capture that new market. And so these are just some description of what kind of what the role and the and the members of this Ecodesign Forum is, and what it will be. And finally, the call for membership, and that there is a specific link for non-member states which will be applicable to Norway. Whereas those of you who are in the member states, you will be directly asked by your government. That concludes my report. Stop sharing, but I'll be glad to take some questions if I can answer them.
Yes, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you so much for a very good overview, Paul, as always. Any discussions, anything that will affect you that you want to discuss? Alison, maybe you have some thoughts on this? No. Thomas,
I mentioned you 3 times, Alison, just to have a question from you. So you don't ask a question. Who's going to ask a question? I mean, you're sitting there in the sun. We are here up in the cold north.
Thank you. It's world leading and very, very necessary. Can you hear me okay?
No, can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's very necessary, and I think the stages to the deployment is very interesting. But I think, and certainly from my experience of working and attending everything with Surpass, they're doing a remarkable job. But of course, everyone is concerned with the deployment of the DPPs, and that is why we aim to make it as easily accessible as possible. I will go through all of those documents as closely as I can, but I think your point here of who's going to be first is exactly right. And that is why I'm doing a call to action right now, because we can take action now, and that's what we can do through the Nordic Circular Hotspot. So we can be the leaders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any more reflections, thoughts on this from your countries? How do you feel this is going in your countries? I can say from our sake in Norway, I think we're a bit stressed. We have to get going for real on this. We also work with the NCE, which is all the climate departments in the Nordics. So I have a project with them where we work on lifting different reports, as we will get an insight in the next meeting, as well on the critical raw materials. But the work there to implement, I can say that all the climate departments in the Nordics are really working on this now. How do we get up to speed to implement all the laws coming from the EU? Because that's, if you remember, you have to do it. And if you're, as Norway, we are a member without the membership almost. We also have to take most of them into account. So it's something that's really is being worked on in the countries, but we are way behind, as the overview showed us, as you probably have experienced in your countries as well. Except from the Finns, of course, they are a bit ahead, but we will fight to get up and get better than the Finns also. Jan Thomas, you have a comment?
Yeah, I have a question for you, Paul. I mean, what are your expectations that the Ecodesign directive or regulation can actually do? What do you expect the development to be if it's implemented in a good way? What will be the effect of it?
So I think that there are many effects, obviously, but I think that the crucial effect, the enabling effect for getting the circular economy value chains going, that will be the requirement in each product for use of secondary raw materials. So you will actually have to, whether you make a PC, an iPhone, or a construction site, or even clothes or other things, in every product category, there will be some specific criteria of quantities of recycled material. And I think that's a very important tool. It forces the different stakeholders in the value chain to start talking to each other. It forces a digitalization communication tools, which the DPP is part of. And it forces the regulatory authorities to take a different stand and take a different look. So I think that will be one of the enabling factors.
It can kickstart a real circular interaction.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because I think, you know, I think it's sort of the tip of the iceberg in a way, that's the symbolic important trigger effect. Because if you look at other things that can enable, for instance, now in Norway, for instance, I don't know about, I think you already have it in Sweden, but we have a green VAT commission just being established. And they're going to look at, can we play with a value added tax in order to motivate and facilitate the availability of these recycled materials? Because if that is a requirement, then the government has to look at what are the key enablers to make that possible. So I think on the VAT, on the digitalizations, on the R&D things, it's kind of agenda setting for a lot of other areas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I also make the quick point that tomorrow I'm attending it's an extension from the World Circular Economy Forum, and it's a panel discussion on hazardous materials. And that's where recyclability is really key, and why we need the DPPs to be able to alert sorters, and especially when it comes to textiles, fiber to fiber recycling, because there's many forever chemicals and hazardous materials in, say, uniforms and activewear, etc. And so then to munch those up and put those into a new yarn that end up becoming in, say, children's wear, that's a great concern, and it hasn't been solved, but I'm happy to say that is actually a real key feature of what we're actually doing, to be able to, even with semi-sort and automated sort, to be able to create various different gatekeepers to be able to try and keep those materials diverted out of that, because it's exactly that. The recycling is going to be key. And then, of course, the balance is, working with countries who are providing virgin materials, cotton, for example, and expecting that to be on their, to support their local economies. So it's a very delicate balance, and it's the only way we're going to get there is by the metrics, by collecting the data and having the metrics. So that's what I'm excited to share.
Thank you so much. We will have a few minutes in the end as well for some quick questions, and if anybody wants to bring up something. But before that, I would also like to present my new colleague, Jan Thomas Ødegaard. You can say a bit more about your background and everything, but the news here is that we're coming up with a new project in the Norway Circular Hotspot on sustainable construction. So the word is yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Great pleasure to meet you all. My name is Jan Thomas Ødegaard, and I've been working on environment and development issues for a number of years. And I'm happy to be with Natural State now. I hope you can hear me. This project that I am the project lead for was recently developed, actually more as a pitch to Nordic Innovation, and they agreed to support it. It's supported with 2 million Norwegian kroners, and it will go on until March 2025. And this project aims to go further than the earlier mapping exercises. It will look at ways to develop the Nordic retrade market for circular construction materials and solutions towards sustainable tipping points. That is see where it's possible to get the circular solutions to become the norm. And that by facilitating the scaling of these solutions to the Nordic level. Many of you probably know that one of the big challenges in developing circular value chains is the scale of things. And the idea is that we believe the Nordic market is a good unit to scale things up. So we'll be looking at selected segments of the market, construction market, selected companies, and see what are the needs and possibilities of these. We will identify baselines and the possible tipping points in selected segments. We will, of course, map the state-of-the-art knowledge of the construction sector and the leading businesses. And then we will together develop different market approach strategies in these segments, and then involve the companies in this, and then of course also map the best public procurement cases for sustainable construction. So trying to identify more concrete strategies in segments of the construction value chain, how it can be circular. And of course, there are a couple of big risks to this project that we have identified. The one is to be relevant for the companies. How can we make sure that the project actually gives a good input and is relevant? And we have a number of partners on the steering committee to help us with that. We have a technical committee, and we also report to Nordic Innovation. So there are lots of people involved in getting this right. And of course, as of now, maybe our goals are a bit ambitious. So we're working out a project plan to get the level of ambition right. So what I would ask from you just at the end here is, if you have good ideas, or if you know about new reports on construction, circularity and construction, sustainability and construction, we would really like to get tips on that, and also experts in this area. Because we will, the first part of this project is to map the state of the art for this. And of course, we will share results as we go along in this project. We'll get back to that, but that's what I think I want to share for this time. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Also, if there's any questions here, feel free to ask. If anybody has questions on how it's evolving, maybe you can say a few words about which partners we have there from Iceland and from.
Yeah, you can, if you skip back to the presentation, there are 4 partners in addition to Natural State. It is a fund forward from Sweden, which is a small company trying to mobilize venture capital for circularity initiatives. We have 2 actors from, or 2 partners from Denmark, Center for Circularity Economy and Circular Innovation Lab, with enormous amounts of experience in this area. And then we have a smaller partner from Iceland, Ringrasartur, I think it's pronounced more or less. And they are one of the pioneering organizations in Iceland promoting circularity, sort of bottom-up approach. So with this combination, we believe we have covered different dimensions of the subject matter. And but of course, we are also setting up a technical group to advise us, and we may also ask you for tips on who should be on that. So we have started, or in the beginning, we will be aligning the project until summer, and then we'll be starting full speed right after that. Thanks.
Thank you. And then we are in a session where if there's anything anybody wants to share, any news, we also encourage you all to, for every meeting, if you have something that it's happening that we should know about in the Nordic countries, any events, any new regulations, any governmental actions, anything that we can share on this circular news part of the meetings, feel free to send over. And also now in the end of the meeting, we normally have a session where if there's anything you want to share, like from your organization, something fun, and whatever, the word is open. If not, I think we will wish you all welcome to the next meeting, which then will be June 26th. So at least block the same time from 1 to 2, June 26th. But we have a few minutes left if anybody wants to share a few words in the end. But if not, thank you so much for coming.
Are there anyone? There's one.
Anyone? Yeah, Alison, sorry.
Yes, I apologize to monopolize everything, but I do wanted to extend on that point in regards to the price of the RFID threads. Just in regards to, I said US dollars 11 cents, it's 10 cents euro, but what's important is that the DPPs on the market are around usually around 9 to 20 cents, but this is the world's first washable bulk scanning RFID thread. And so with 30 to 100 washes, and when we collect it back, we're going to put that onto a secondary market. So that means products like in the construction business, homewares, interiors, etc., that because they don't need as much washable, we'll be bringing that price point down so that will be lower than every other DPP on the market. But not only that, send some money back to the original brand who purchased that for 10 euro cents. So that even reduces their price as well. So adding that finance component to it, but also adding that secondary market for all those other products where they might not jump to a DPP because they feel that it's not, as you know, it's not affordable, but on the secondary market it will be. So I just wanted to make that extra point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alison. And yeah, I'll use the last minute here to just say so much thank you to Paul for coming by, to Alison for presenting and being part of our organization. We're so happy to have you here and are looking forward to get to know you more. To Jan Thomas for presenting the new group here. And then yeah, I will say again, for the report on policy, you'll find it on our webpage, and we can also send it to you and whatever. Take contact if you can't find it, and also on everything else you're wondering on. We are here for you guys. So thanks for today, and see you again 1 o'clock Wednesday, 26th of June. Bye.